Mole poblano is more than just a sauce. It's a story told in flavors, carrying the weight of history. Its complex taste is famous worldwide, surprising first-timers with notes of chocolate, chili, nuts, and spices. The story of mole is as rich as its flavor, a tapestry of legend, fact, and cultural fusion. It's a masterpiece of Mexican cooking with origins in tales passed down through generations. Understanding mole is understanding a piece of Mexico itself, a journey through ancient traditions and colonial kitchens. This balance of dozens of components makes mole poblano special and revered. Mole poblano is a symbol of the resilience and spirit of the Mexican people, a testament to the nation's blended heritage. To truly appreciate mole poblano, we must look beyond the ingredients list. We must delve into the legends that surround its creation. The most famous of these tales takes place in the city of Puebla, a colonial gem in the heart of Mexico. The story is set within the hallowed walls of the convent of Santa Rosa. It is a tale of an unexpected visit from a powerful archbishop. The nuns, caught by surprise and with little to offer their esteemed guest, had to be resourceful. They scrambled to create a dish worthy of his presence, a challenge that would give birth to a culinary legend that has endured for centuries. This convent tale is a powerful narrative about making magic from mundane things. The nuns supposedly gathered everything they had on hand. This included an assortment of dried chilies, a handful of different nuts and seeds, some stale bread for thickness, and a mix of fragrant spices. In a moment of inspiration, they also added a piece of chocolate, an ingredient native to Mexico but often used in drinks. They ground all of these elements together on a metite, the traditional stone grinder, until a thick, fragrant paste was formed. This paste became the sauce they poured over a simple cooked turkey, a bird indigenous to the Americas. The Archbishop's reaction, as the legend goes, was one of pure delight. He was captivated by the sauce's incredible complexity and depth of flavor. He had never tasted anything like it. He declared it one of the most magnificent dishes he had ever eaten. And so, mole poblano was born, not from a carefully written recipe, but from a moment of panicked creativity and faith. This story highlights how some of the world's greatest culinary inventions come from necessity. It frames mole as a dish born of humility and ingenuity, a gift from the convent kitchen to the world of gastronomy. While this legend is a beautiful and cherished part of Mexican folklore, the true history of mole is likely even more complex. It is a story of gradual evolution rather than a single moment of invention. The sauce is a direct result of the cultural exchange that began when the Spanish arrived in Mexico. It represents a fusion of two distinct culinary worlds. New World ingredients like chilies, tomatoes, and cacao were combined with Old World ingredients like almonds, garlic, and cinnamon. This blend is what makes mole poblano a true symbol of mestizaje, the cultural and racial mixing that defines modern Mexican identity, all served up on a single plate. Long before the Spanish arrived, the indigenous peoples of Mexico had already mastered sauce making. Their traditions were rich, sophisticated, and connected to the land. These sauces were known in the Nahuatl language as mole, simply translating to sauce. This is the origin of the name mole. These ancient mole were the direct ancestors of the mole poblano we cherish today. The essential ingredient was the chili pepper, cultivated in countless varieties. Pumpkin seeds, known as pepitas, were a common addition. It is crucial to understand that these early mole were not the chocolate-laden sauces we often associate with mole poblano today. These sauces were often served over hunted game like turkey, duck, or venison, demonstrating the ingenuity of Mexico's first people. The ingredients used in pre-Hispanic mole were more than just sources of sustenance. They were deeply woven into the cultural and spiritual fabric of indigenous societies. Chilies, for example, were not merely a spice to add heat. They were considered a sacred plant, a gift from the gods that had medicinal properties and played a role in religious rituals. The Aztecs, Mayans, and other civilizations cultivated dozens of varieties, from the mild and fruity ancho to the fiery and smoky chipotle. Their understanding of how to combine these different chilies to achieve a specific flavor profile was incredibly sophisticated, a form of culinary alchemy passed down through generations of skilled cooks who respected the power held within each pepper. Similarly, the tomato and its green cousin, the tomatillo, were foundational elements of the pre-Columbian diet and its sauces. These fruits, native to the Americas, brought moisture, sweetness, and a necessary acidity that brightened the deep, earthy flavors of the ground chilies and seeds. The Nahuatl word tomatal is the origin of the name we use today. These were not just thrown into the mix, they were often fire-roasted to concentrate their sugars and add a subtle, smoky character to the final mole. This technique demonstrates a profound understanding of flavor development that went far beyond simple cooking, elevating the sauce from a mere condiment to a complex and well-balanced culinary creation. Perhaps no ingredient is more famously associated with ancient Mexico than cacao. While its common use in savory cooking would come later, its importance cannot be overstated. For the Aztecs, cacao beans were more valuable than gold. They were used to create a bitter, frothy, and often spiced beverage called zocolotl, consumed by royalty, warriors, and priests during important ceremonies. This sacred bean was seen as a source of energy, wisdom, and divine connection. The reverence for cacao would eventually seep into the colonial kitchen, where its bitter complexity found a new and revolutionary home in the evolving recipe for mole, adding a final defining layer to the dish. The combination of these core elements, chilies, seeds, tomatoes, and herbs, formed the soul of the ancient mole. This was the culinary landscape that the Spanish encountered upon their arrival. It was a world rich with flavors and ingredients they had never experienced before. This pre-existing tradition of complex sauce making was the fertile ground upon which mole poblano would grow. The indigenous mole was not a primitive precursor, but a highly developed culinary art form in its own right. It was the strong, vibrant rootstock onto which Old World ingredients would be grafted, creating a new and extraordinary symbol of Mexico's hybrid identity. The story of Mole Poblano is a humble tale of faith, creativity, and a little bit of panic. This unfolds in the 17th century within the convent of Santa Rosa in Puebla. The tranquility was interrupted by an unexpected visitor, an event that would change Mexican culinary history. The archbishop was on his way for a visit. The nuns were poor and had no extravagant ingredients to impress him. Panic began to set in, but the nuns were resourceful. Led by Sister Andrea, they began to take stock of what little they had. There were dried chilies, almonds, spices, stale bread, and dark chocolate. Guided by divine inspiration, they decided to combine them all. With their esteemed guest on his way, the nuns of the convent of Santa Rosa worked with focused intensity. They began preparing the foundation of their new creation, the chilies. Each chili was carefully cleaned, its seeds and veins removed. They toasted them lightly on a hot comal until their smoky aromas filled the kitchen, awakening their deep flavors. Next, the nuns toasted nuts and spices, adding warm, exotic notes. Fried stale bread served as a thickener. The heart of the process was the matat, their sacred altar. They took turns grinding the toasted ingredients together, crushing chilies, nuts, spices, and bread into a smooth paste. As they worked, they prayed for guidance. Finally, one nun had a bold idea to add dark, bitter chocolate. She melted it into the savory paste. The sauce was transformed, now a deep, dark, mysterious concoction unlike anything they had ever made before. With the sauce complete, the nuns needed something to serve it with. They prepared a turkey, a bird native to the Americas and common in celebratory meals. The turkey was the canvas for their new creation. The nuns ladled the fragrant sauce over the turkey, coating it in a rich mahogany color. They sprinkled toasted sesame seeds over the top. The dish was complete. When the archbishop arrived, the nuns presented their dish. He took his first bite, and a look of astonishment spread across his face. The flavors were unlike anything he had ever experienced. He asked for the name of the dish, and so Mole Poblano was born. This story captures the spirit of the dish. The story of the nuns at the convent of Santa Rosa really shows a big moment in Mexican history. The magic of mole poblano is the result of a slow and complicated process where cultures mixed called mestizaje. Mole poblano is probably the most delicious and powerful example of this happening. It's a dish that couldn't have existed without two different worlds meeting. Mole poblano stands as the best example of this food conversation. In every bite of mole, you can taste this history of cultures mixing. It's a perfect match where each part makes the others better, creating a flavor that is much more than just all the parts put together. Mole poblano shows how tough and creative the Mexican people are. It's a celebration of the mixed heritage that defines modern Mexico. To understand mole poblano, we must honor the ingredients that form its core, the gifts from the New World. At the heart are the chilies. Mole poblano uses a combination of dried chilies like ancho, pasilla, mulatto, and chipotle. Another essential ingredient is the tomato. Of course, we cannot forget cacao. In mole poblano, a small amount of unsweetened chocolate adds a beautiful dark color and incredible depth. Finally, the sauce often gets its body and texture from native nuts and seeds. Together, these New World ingredients form the undeniable foundation of mole poblano. They are the voice of ancient Mexico. While the soul of mole poblano comes from the Americas, its sophisticated aromatic character is a direct result of the ingredients that arrived with the Spanish. The Old World brought a treasure chest of spices and other goods that would forever transform Mexican cooking. These additions introduced new layers of flavor that complemented the native ingredients in surprising and delicious ways. The Spanish trade routes, which connected Europe to Asia and Africa, meant that spices from far-flung corners of the globe suddenly became available in the kitchens of colonial Mexico. This global pantry was the final piece of the mole poblano puzzle, adding an exotic and fragrant dimension. Among the most important contributions from the Old World are the sweet spices. Cinnamon, which came to Spain from Sri Lanka via Arab traders, adds a warm, sweet, and woody fragrance that beautifully contrasts with the smoky heat of the chilies. Cloves, originating from the spice islands of Indonesia, provide a pungent, almost medicinal warmth that gives the mole a distinct aromatic lift. Black peppercorns, native to India, offer a sharp, piquant bite that is different from the heat of chilies. These spices, when toasted and ground, release their essential oils, infusing the sauce with a complex perfume that is both comforting and intoxicating. Beyond the spices, the Spanish introduced key ingredients that fundamentally changed the texture and richness of the sauce. Almonds, a staple in Spanish cuisine, were quickly adopted into the mole recipe. When toasted and ground, they provide a creamy consistency and a delicate, nutty sweetness that balances the bitterness of the chocolate and the heat of the chilies. Likewise, garlic and onions, staples of Mediterranean cooking, became essential building blocks of flavor. Sautéed until soft and sweet, they add a savory, aromatic depth that supports the entire structure of the sauce, a foundational element that is now impossible to imagine mole without. Another humble yet crucial Old World ingredient is bread. The use of bread or crackers as a thickener is a technique rooted in European cooking, particularly in Spain, where breadcrumbs are often used to give body to stews and sauces. In mole poblano, a piece of stale bread or a simple animal cracker is often fried and ground into the paste. This simple addition helps to bind the sauce, giving it that perfect velvety consistency that clings so beautifully to the turkey or chicken. The fusion is complete. The chili, tomato, and cacao of the New World embrace the spices, nuts, and bread of the Old, creating a perfectly balanced and harmonious whole. Mole poblano is more than just food. It shows what it means to be Mexican. It came from mixing old native ways with Spanish traditions. People save it for the biggest parties, weddings, quinceañeras, and national holidays. Making mole together is a special family thing. It brings everyone closer, from grandparents to grandkids. Every family in Puebla has its own secret recipe. This makes mole a special part of their area and a tradition that's still alive. Mole poblano started as an old dish called and became a national symbol. This shows how Mexico is strong and how different cultures came together. Every time you eat it, you're tasting history and proudly saying what it means to be Mexican. In Mexico, mole poblano is the ultimate celebration food, never an everyday meal. Its preparation is a labor of love, often involving days of work and the whole family. The process starts at the market, selecting the perfect chilies, nuts, and spices. In the kitchen, each step, roasting, grinding, blending, becomes a shared ritual, passing down tradition. Mole is served with ceremony, ladled over turkey or chicken, and always with rice and tortillas. Sharing mole is a moment of communion, reinforcing family and cultural identity. The effort is immense, but the reward is a dish that marks life's most important moments. Mole poblano stands as a national emblem and a point of fierce pride for Puebla. On holidays like Cinco de Mayo, serving mole is an act of patriotism and remembrance. Poblanos guard their mole recipes as family treasures, fueling festivals and culinary tourism. Food lovers travel to Puebla to taste authentic mole and learn its secrets. Mole poblano embodies Mexico's unity and diversity, a dish for the nation but rooted in Puebla's heart. Its enduring legacy is a testament to the power of place, tradition, and cultural pride. Mole poblano has adapted to modern life. Traditional methods for special occasions, convenient pastes for everyday meals. This evolution has brought mole to tables worldwide, inspiring chefs to create new dishes while honoring its roots. Purists and innovators alike celebrate mole's versatility, from classic turkey to fusion cuisine. Meanwhile, a movement in Mexico works to preserve ancestral recipes and techniques. Mole poblano thrives as both a living tradition and a global culinary icon. Its adaptability ensures it will be cherished for generations to come. The story of mole poblano mirrors Mexico's own fusion, resilience, and creativity. From Aztec kitchens to Puebla's convents, mole blends indigenous and colonial flavors into something uniquely Mexican. It's the centerpiece of celebrations, a ritual that unites families and honors heritage. Mole's journey from ancient tradition to global inspiration shows its enduring relevance. Ultimately, mole poblano is Mexico on a plate, complex, harmonious, and deeply meaningful. It remains one of the world's most magnificent culinary treasures.